The thing about Tuesdays is that they rarely host alien invasions. Mondays are too obvious, Fridays too inconvenient for everyone's weekend plans. But Tuesdays, perfect for cosmic calamity. And that's exactly when Commander Vortek, the most feared warlord in 7 star systems, crash-landed in the Murphy family's backyard. Penny Murphy, aged 8 3/4, was constructing a mud fortress for her action figures when the ground shook and something that looked like a trash compactor mated with a disco ball plowed through her mother's prized hydrangeas. "Cool," she whispered, pigtails bouncing as she approached the smoldering wreckage. Where most children might run screaming, Penny had watched enough sci-fi with her dad to know the proper protocol: investigate immediately, tell adults later. Steam hissed from the craft as a panel slid open. A figure emerged 7 feet tall, armor gleaming with what appeared to be actual starlight, skin a deep purple with bioluminescent markings that pulsed with each labored breath. 4 arms ended in clawed hands, 2 clutching what was clearly a weapon. "Greetings. Primitive earth creature," the being rumbled, voice like gravel in a blender. "I am Commander Vortek, destroyer of worlds, conqueror of the Rigelian expanse." Terror of a fit of coughing interrupted his impressive title recitation. Penny tilted her head. "You don't look so good, mister." Silence. "I am not mister. I am the rightful heir to the another cough. The atmospheric composition of your pitiful planet is affecting my respiratory system." "Did you hit your head?" Vortek's 6 eyes blinked independently of each other. "That is irrelevant to our interaction. Mom says when people hit their heads, they need ice cream and a nap." Penny nodded sagely. "You can come inside. Dad's at work, and Mom's taking my brother to soccer practice." "I do not require your hospitality, small human. I must repair my quantum displacement engine and continue my—" The sound of sirens in the distance made all 6 of Vortek's eyes widen. "Are those your planet's defense forces?" "Probably. Our neighbor Mrs. Goldstein calls the cops whenever anything happens. Last week, my friend Tommy rode his bike on her driveway, and 3 police cars showed up." Vortek's armor shifted, plates reconfiguring as he assessed his options. His ship was damaged beyond immediate repair. His location beacon was compromised, and now local authorities were approaching. Very well," he conceded with all the dignity a 7-foot alien could muster while hunched over in pain. "I will temporarily accept your shelter while I formulate my next strategic maneuver." Penny grinned, revealing a missing front tooth. "Great. I've always wanted a pet alien. I am not a pet. I am the most feared. I'll call you Snugglebug." And that's how the most notorious warlord in the galaxy found himself being led by the hand into a suburban home by a little girl who had already decided he belonged to her. "This dwelling is insufficient for a being of my stature," Vortek complained, ducking to avoid the ceiling fan in Penny's bedroom. "Where are your fortified bunkers? Your weapons caches?" "This is where I keep my important stuff," Penny explained, pointing proudly to shelves lined with stuffed animals and rocks painted with googly eyes. "You can sleep in the bottom bunk. My brother used to sleep there before he got his own room, but now I use it for sleepovers." Vortek examined the small bed with disdain. "I have slept on the skulls of my enemies. I have rested in the zero-gravity chambers of luxury cruisers stolen from planetary monarchs. Does that mean you want the top bunk instead?" "No, Here, Penny thrust a worn teddy bear into one of his 4 hands. "This is Mr. Fuzzy. He keeps the monsters away at night. Child, I am the monster that others fear." Penny giggled. "You're funny, Snugglebug. My designation is Commander Vortek, Supreme Leader of the— Are you hungry? I can make peanut butter sandwiches." The alien warlord's stomach or whatever equivalent organ he possessed made an audible gurgle. "I require sustenance that would likely incinerate your fragile human digestive system." 20 minutes later, Vortek sat cross-legged on the kitchen floor, all 4 hands clutching a peanut butter sandwich. "This primitive concoction," he mumbled between bites, "is not entirely displeasing." "Told you," Penny said, swinging her legs from her perch on the counter. Now, we need to talk about your clothes. You can't walk around in that robot suit. This is battle armor crafted from the rarest metals in the galaxy. It has protected me through 17 planetary sieges and it's too shiny. People will notice. Plus, it knocked over Mom's favorite lamp when you turned around. Vortex stared at the broken ceramic pieces. It's a worthwhile casualty. 2 hours later, the fearsome commander found himself dressed in an XXXL Hawaiian shirt and stretchy pants that Penny had retrieved from her dad's before diet box in the garage. His armor was hidden under her bed, next to a box of seashells and a diary with a unicorn on the cover. Now we need a backstory, Penny declared, pacing her room like a tiny general. Mom and Dad can't know you're an alien. I am not accustomed to concealing my identity. Usually I announce my presence with orbital bombardment, but that won't work. Mom doesn't even let us light fireworks on the 4th of July. When the garage door rumbled open later that afternoon, signaling her mother's return, Penny had fully briefed Vortex on his cover story. He was Uncle Victor from her father's side, visiting unexpectedly. His unusual appearance was explained away as a skin condition, and his extra set of arms were hidden beneath the voluminous shirt, strapped uncomfortably to his torso. Remember, she whispered as footsteps approached, your name is Victor, not Vortex, and definitely not Destroyer of Worlds. This deception is beneath me, he growled. On my planet, children are taught to fear my name. On this planet, you're Snugglebug, and you like watching cartoons with me. I do not. The bedroom door opened, and Penny's mother stood frozen, staring at the enormous purple man crammed onto her daughter's bottom bunk. Honey, who is this? This is Uncle Victor. Dad's cousin from Minnesota. He has a skin condition. Mrs. Murphy's eyes narrowed. Your father is an only child. Second cousin? Vortex rumbled, attempting what he believed was a human smile, but looking more like a shark experiencing indigestion. He's staying with us for a little while. Penny added quickly, he's very nice. I have eliminated adversaries for lesser insult. Yes, very nice. I enjoy your Earth customs. Mrs. Murphy pinched the bridge of her nose. I'm calling your father. As she left to make the call, Vortex turned to Penny. Your progenitor does not believe our fabrication. It's okay. Dad's better with weird stuff. He watches all those alien conspiracy shows. Those programs document my people's previous reconnaissance missions. Maybe. See, you're already famous here. For the first time since crash landing, Vortex felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest cavity. Whether it was dread or amusement remained to be determined. 12 parsecs away, aboard the Imperial enforcement vessel Righteous Fury, Captain Drell slammed a tentacle on the command console, causing several junior officers to flinch. What do you mean you've lost him? Drell's exoskeleton shifted colors from professional blue to furious crimson. Commander Vortex is responsible for destabilizing 3 galactic sectors. His bounty would fund our operations for a decade. Lieutenant Zorn, an insectoid being with impeccable posture, cleared all 3 of his throats. The tracking signal disappeared in Sector 2814, sir. A primitive system with only one inhabited planet. Earth, Drell hissed, the word sounding like a curse. Pull up all intelligence on this Earth. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a montage of human activity, people staring at small rectangular devices, consuming processed foods, while engaging in bizarre mating rituals involving dimly lit restaurants and chemical-infused beverages. Fascinating, murmured the ship's xenobiologist, Dr. Clark. They appear simultaneously advanced yet remarkably backward. Their technology is rudimentary, but their capacity for self-destruction is impressive. Can they detect our presence? Drell demanded. Unlikely, Captain. Their atmospheric monitoring systems are primarily focused on weather patterns and aircraft. Our cloaking technology will render us effectively invisible. Drell's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Then we begin ground reconnaissance immediately. Vortex physiology will stand out among these humans. Finding him should be simple. 2 orbital cycles later, Drell was considerably less confident. Earth's population of nearly 8 billion made finding one alien warlord, even a purple, four-armed one, like locating a specific grain of sand on a beach. He must be using some form of concealment technology, Lieutenant Zorn suggested as they reviewed footage from their stealth drones scanning suburban neighborhoods. Or he has found assistance, Dr. Clark added. Humans are notoriously unpredictable. They might harbor him for reasons beyond our comprehension. Dispatch ground teams. Drell ordered. Focus on population centers with recent reports of unusual activity. Sir, their primitive information network, they call it the Internet, is flooded with reports of unusual activity. Humans seem to imagine aliens everywhere. Perfect camouflage, Drell muttered. Target any reports involving property damage consistent with a crash landing. Meanwhile, in the Murphy household, Vortek was experiencing his own form of alien invasion, family dinner. So, Victor, Mr. Murphy began, eyeing their strange guest over a forkful of meatloaf. Penny says you're from Minnesota. Which part? The northern part, Vortek replied, remembering Penny's hasty geography lesson, where it is cold. Very cold. Like the ice plains of Arcturus Prime. Arcturus Prime? A neighborhood, Penny interjected. Named after the star, Uncle Victor is an astronomer. Indeed, Vortek nodded vigorously. I study your puny, fascinating celestial bodies. That's interesting, Mrs. Murphy said skeptically. And how long will you be staying with us? Before Vortek could answer, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, Penny's brother Tommy shouted, jumping from his seat. Vortek tensed, two hidden arms straining against their restraints beneath his shirt. Are you expecting visitors? It's probably just selling something, Mr. Murphy assured him. Tommy returned, followed by a tall, thin man in an impeccable business suit. This guy says he's from the government. Good evening, the man said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm Agent Wilson with the Department of Atmospheric Anomalies. We detected an unusual energy signature in this area and are conducting a standard investigation. Vortek's bioluminescent markings began pulsing rapidly beneath his makeup. Atmospheric anomalies? Mr. Murphy frowned, like weather stuff. Oh, something like that, Agent Wilson replied, gaze fixed on Vortek. Sir, have we met before? Impossible, Vortek rumbled. I am new to this, Minnesota. Penny kicked him under the table. I'm from Minnesota. New to this area. Agent Wilson's hand slipped inside his jacket. Would you mind stepping outside for a moment? Sejo, I have a few questions. The light suddenly went out, plunging the dining room into darkness. When emergency power kicked in 30 seconds later, both Agent Wilson and Vortek were gone. Outside, hidden behind the garden shed, Vortek held a squirming, disguised alien agent by the throat. Tell Drell he will never take me alive. We don't want to kill you, the agent gasped, his human disguise flickering. The Galactic Tribunal is offering amnesty in exchange for information on your cartel's operations. I do not bargain with enforcement lackeys. Uncle Victor? Penny's voice called from the back porch. Where are you? Mom's looking for you. The momentary distraction was all the agent needed. He slipped from Vortek's grasp, activating a teleportation device that dissolved him into particles of light. Snugglebug? Are you playing hide and seek? Vortek emerged from the shadows, breathing heavily. We have a problem, small human. My enemies have found me. Penny's eyes widened. Are they the bad guys? No, Vortek admitted reluctantly. By most objective standards, I am the bad guy. They are simply doing their duty. But you're not bad, Penny insisted. You're my friend. For the second time that day, Vortek experienced an unfamiliar sensation in his chest cavity. This time he was fairly certain it wasn't indigestion. By the third day of Vortek's stay, the Murphy household had established an uneasy routine. Mr. Murphy had been convinced that Victor was indeed a distant relative going through a rough patch, while Mrs. Murphy maintained a suspicious vigilance that involved frequent unexpected room checks and pointed questions about Minnesota winters. Your maternal unit is more perceptive than the average human, Vortek noted as he helped Penny build a pillow fort in her room, a tactical exercise he had begrudgingly agreed to participate in. Mom used to be a detective before she became a lawyer, Penny explained, draping a sheet over 2 chairs. She can tell when people are lying. On my planet, we have a species that can smell deception. We exterminated them immediately. That's not very nice. I am not nice. I am Snugglebug, who's helping me build the best fort ever, Penny finished for him, grinning. Outside the Murphy home, surveillance had intensified. Captain Drell's agents, disguised as everything from mail carriers to dog walkers, maintained a constant perimeter. Subtle scanning devices disguised as birds perched on nearby power lines, monitoring all electronic communications. A hover drone disguised as a balloon floated past Penny's window, recording heat signatures. Sing dim board. Lieutenant Zorn's voice crackled through Drell's communicator. Sir, we've confirmed Vortek's presence in the target dwelling. Requesting permission to extract. Negative, Drell replied. The humans must not become aware of our existence. The Galactic Council has designated Earth a protected pre-contact civilization. But sir, Vortek has already made contact with one family. A situation we can contain. A full tactical extraction would expose our presence to the entire neighborhood. What neither Drell nor his agents realized was that their subtle surveillance had already attracted attention, just not from adults. Tommy, look. Penny pointed to a suspiciously motionless squirrel watching their house. That's the 3rd weird animal today, and that mail lady has delivered mail to our house 4 times. Tommy, initially skeptical of his sister's alien friend, had become a reluctant believer after walking in on Vortek using all 4 arms to simultaneously build a model spacecraft that eat a sandwich, flip through TV channels, and solve complex equations on a notepad. Maybe they're with the men in black, Tommy suggested, like in that movie Dad showed us. When Penny reported these observations to Vortek, the Warlord's reaction was immediate and dramatic. He attempted to barricade the bedroom door with furniture before Penny talked him down. We need a plan, she insisted. Not a panic room. My battle strategies typically involve superior firepower and intimidation tactics, Vortek admitted, neither of which are available to me at present. That's okay. On Earth, we use sneakiness and distraction. Operation Protect Snugglebug commenced the following morning with Tommy creating a diversion by accidentally setting off the sprinkler system while the surveillance team disguised him as landscapers was stationed in the front yard. Meanwhile, Penny helped Vortek slip out the back door during the chaos, disguised in her father's raincoat and hat, plus a scarf wrapped around his lower face. Their destination, the local hardware store. Small human, explain again why we are procuring these items, Vortek asked, examining a shopping list written in purple crayon. We're making alien traps, Penny whispered, to catch the bad aliens looking for you. The clerk raised an eyebrow as they checked out with fishing line, several bags of marbles, superglue, balloons, glitter, and an excessive amount of aluminum foil. Science project? He asked. Own security, Penny replied with a straight face. By sunset, the Murphy property had been transformed into a miniature fortress of booby traps that would make Kevin McAllister proud. Trip wires connected to noisemakers guarded the perimeter. Strategic buckets of water mixed with glitter were positioned above entry points. The garden hose had been repurposed into an impromptu sprinkler system that could be activated remotely by Tommy's video game controller, ingeniously rewired by Vortek. Your species' capacity for tactical thinking is not entirely pathetic, Vortek admitted as they surveyed their work. Dad says I get my sneakiness from Mom, Penny beamed. She once caught Tommy eating cookies before dinner by putting flour on the floor to see his footprints. That night, the first extraction team made their move. 4 agents in stealth suits approached the Murphy residence, their thermal signatures masked, communication devices set to frequencies undetectable by Earth technology. They never stood a chance. The lead agent triggered a tripwire, sending marbles scattering under their feet. The second stepped on a carefully concealed pressure plate made from a bathroom scale, activating the sprinkler system, water laced with dish soap creating an immediately slippery terrain. The third, attempting to maintain balance, grabbed onto what appeared to be a sturdy trellis but was actually loosely assembled garden stakes covered in aluminum foil and super glue. From their observation post in Penny's bedroom, Vortek watched with growing amazement as the tactical team trained in 17 forms of intergalactic combat was utterly defeated by the defensive strategies of two human bulk children. "Your species," he said slowly, "is terrifying. We haven't even used the glitter bombs yet," Penny replied with a grin. By morning, Captain Drell was furious. His extraction team had returned covered in an unidentifiable sparkly substance that their decontamination protocols couldn't remove. "How?" he demanded. "How did one of the most feared warlords in the galaxy become so resourceful?" "Perhaps," Dr. Clark suggested, "he is not working alone." The Westfield Elementary School Science Fair was not where Captain Drell had envisioned making the most important arrest of his career. Yet here he was, disguised as a judge, clipboard in hand, surrounded by crude dioramas of the solar system and baking soda volcanoes. "Remember," he subvocalized to his team, "positioned strategically around the gymnasium, Vortek must not realize we've identified him until the containment field is active. We cannot risk collateral damage to these larvae." "They're called children, sir," Lieutenant Zorn corrected through the comlink, "and I've identified his co-conspirators. The small female human at booth 17 and the slightly larger male human at booth 23. Penny had been reluctant to leave Vortek at home, especially after the previous night's attempted break-in. But her science project, The Effects of Different Liquids on Plant Growth, was worth 30% of her grade, and Mrs. Murphy had insisted on family attendance. What her mother didn't know was that Penny had secretly brought Uncle Victor along, convincing him that a crowded public event was the perfect place to hide. "They'll never look for you where there are lots of people," she had assured him. Vortek, now somewhat accustomed to his Earth disguise, lurked awkwardly by the refreshment table, hunched to disguise his height, all four arms firmly secured beneath the now familiar Hawaiian shirt. He had actually grown somewhat attached to the garment, admitting privately that its bright colors reminded him of ceremonial battle dress from his home world. Uncle Victor. Tommy sidled up next to him. "There's weird adults here. They keep looking at clipboards but not writing anything." Vortek casually surveyed the room. His military-trained eyes immediately spotted the inconsistencies, judges who never actually judged, parents who didn't interact with any children, a custodian who kept mopping the same spot. "How many exits from this facility?" he asked quietly. "3, Tommy replied. "Main doors, side emergency exit, and the doors to the cafeteria. All likely covered," Vortek muttered. "We need alternative extraction." Tommy's eyes widened. "The roof access in the janitor's closet. We found it last year when playing hide and seek during the winter concert." Across the gym, Penny was explaining the results of her experiment to an uninterested parent when she noticed Judge Franklin speaking into his wristwatch. Something about his posture triggered her suspicion the same way Vortek stood when alert to danger. Their eyes met briefly, and she knew immediately they'd been found. The gymnasium lights flickered suddenly, and a low hum filled the air. Captain Drell had activated the containment protocol. "All units," he subvocalized, "prepare for extraction. Target is by the refreshment station." But when his team converged on the spot, they found only an empty punch bowl and a half-eaten cookie. Penny had already reached Vortek, tugging him toward the hallway. "They're here." The alien police. The galactic enforcement, Vortek corrected automatically. "And they are not police. They are bounty hunters with official sanction." "Whatever. We need to go." They'd nearly reached the janitor's closet when a shimmering barrier appeared, blocking the hallway. Captain Drell stepped through, his human disguise flickering away to reveal his true form, an imposing crustacean humanoid with multiple eye stalks and a gleaming exoskeleton. "Commander Vortek," he announced formally. "By the authority of the Galactic Tribunal, You are under arrest for crimes against sentient beings across 17 star systems. Vortek pushed Penny behind him protectively, his voice dropping to the commanding tone that had terrorized star systems. I will come peacefully if you guarantee the safety of these humans. No, Penny shouted, stepping forward. You can't take Snugglebug. He's changed. He's good now. Drell's eye stalk swiveled toward her. Small human, this creature is responsible for the displacement of entire civilizations. He has toppled governments and enslaved populations. Maybe before, Penny admitted. But not anymore. He helps me with homework and he learned how to make pancakes, and he watches cartoons with me even though he says they're strategically inaccurate. The child's assessment is irrelevant, Drell stated flatly. Justice must be served. Is it justice? Vortek suddenly asked, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. Or is it vengeance? Before Drell could answer, the fire alarm blared. Tommy had pulled the emergency lever, sending students and parents streaming toward the exits. In the confusion, Penny grabbed Vortek's hand and pulled him into the nearest classroom. We need something to fight with, she whispered frantically, looking around the science room. Vortek's gaze fell on the familiar ingredients from their home defenses: baking soda, vinegar, dish soap, and most interestingly a container labeled liquid nitrogen, teacher use only. Small human, he said with new respect, I believe your planet's scientific education has provided us with adequate weaponry. When Captain Drell and his team breached the classroom door, they were met with an improvised smoke bomb created from chemicals Vortek recognized from Penny's science textbook. Right through the haze, Drell spotted movement and lunged only to slip on a perfectly prepared slick of soap solution. Now, Vortek shouted, and Penny triggered their masterpiece, a carefully calculated mixture that, when combined with the liquid nitrogen, created a rapidly expanding foam that hardened almost instantly upon contact with air. Within seconds, Captain Drell found himself encased up to his neck in a substance his advanced technology couldn't immediately analyze. Elementary school science, Penny explained proudly, plus some alien know-how. This is outrageous. Drell sputtered. The Galactic Tribunal will. Will what? Vortek interrupted, stepping forward. Learn that their most wanted criminal was incapacitated by a child using educational materials. That the mighty Captain Drell was defeated by a science fair project? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Drell's features. I have a proposition. Vortek continued, one that preserves your dignity and accomplishes your mission. 1 month later, in a secure chamber deep beneath Galactic Enforcement Headquarters, Captain Drell presented his report to the Tribunal Council. Commander Vortek has been neutralized as a threat, he stated formally. He remains on Earth, but under conditions that satisfy our security protocols. The Councillor's hologram flickered with skepticism. Explain these conditions that you unilaterally approved, Captain. Earth has been designated a protected planet, with Vortek serving as its guardian. Any aggressive action toward the planet will be considered an act of war against the Tribunal itself. You've turned our most wanted criminal into a planetary protector, the Councillor asked incredulously. With appropriate restrictions, Drell clarified. His ship remains disabled. He cannot leave the planet's surface, and he is bound by a neural compliance implant that prevents harmful actions against sentient beings. And you believe this arrangement is secure? Drell's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. I believe, Councillor, that Commander Vortek has encountered a force more effective at rehabilitation than any of our penal colonies. Back on Earth, in the Murphy household's backyard, Vortek was helping Penny build a treehouse. His 4 arms made quick work of the construction, easily holding beams in place while hammering nails. Will you tell me more about space today? Penny asked, handing him boards from her perch on a nearby branch. Tommy doesn't believe that the Andromeda Galaxy has purple oceans. The oceans are not technically purple, Vortek corrected. The indigenous algae creates an optical effect that he stopped, noticing her disappointed expression. But they do appear quite purple, especially during the third moon's ascension. See? I told Tommy you'd been there. Indeed. Though my visit was less diplomatic than it could have been. Penny considered this. Did you destroy stuff? Some infrastructure was damaged during negotiations. But you wouldn't do that now, right? Because you're good now. Vortek paused in his hammering. 6 months ago, he had commanded a fleet that struck fear across the galaxy. He had accumulated wealth beyond measurement, held the fate of entire species in his hands. He had been addressed with titles and honorifics that stretched for paragraphs. Now he was building a treehouse and had recently mastered the art of French braiding Penny's hair for school. Yes, he said finally. I believe I am good now. That evening, as Penny's parents watched in bemusement as their daughter taught Uncle Victor to play Uno, Mrs. Murphy whispered to her husband, I still think there's something odd about your cousin. Probably, Mr. Murphy agreed. But have you noticed how the neighbor's dog doesn't poop in our yard anymore? And how that annoying guy who kept parking in front of our driveway suddenly found somewhere else to park? Coincidence, Mrs. Murphy muttered, though without conviction. Raised from his position on the floor, Vortek's enhanced hearing easily picked up their conversation. He suppressed a smile, a facial expression he had once considered a sign of weakness, but now practiced regularly. Later that night, after tucking Penny into bed, another Earth custom he had initially found perplexing but now cherished, as Vortek stepped into the backyard and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Captain Drell was filing reports about the dangerous Commander Vortek, neutralized as a threat to galactic security. If only they knew that the fearsome warlord now answered to Snugglebug and had developed strong opinions about which breakfast cereal was superior. His neural compliance implant gave a soft beep, reminding him of his restricted status. But strangely, it didn't feel like imprisonment. For the first time in centuries, he felt something that his species rarely acknowledged: contentment. A small voice called from an open window, Snugglebug. Can you check for monsters under my bed? Coming, small human, he replied, turning away from the stars. After all, he had important duties to attend to. The most feared warlord in 7 star systems had found his most important mission yet, and it involved tea parties, math homework, and keeping the monsters at bay. Who would have thought that the mighty would fall not to superior firepower, but to a gap-toothed smile and a name like Snugglebug?